Hey guys, in this video we're going to be going over some of the frequently asked questions when planning, preparing, and considerations before you start building. Let's talk about what you're getting for your money. So a couple of different ways why barndominiums are cheaper than a traditional build is one, it takes less time to build. And I'll go over this later. You can build a barndominium in 120 days. Also, they can be energy efficient. There are a lot of solutions to help preserve energy and use less material and time, which is one of the benefits, and also stronger materials. So the stronger materials, using metal, using concrete, those things that last a lot longer. And then your material warranties. Our metal, which is our roof and the entire exterior of our home, has a 40-year warranty. 40 years against fading, against deteriorating, all those kinds of things. And we got a thicker, like 26 gauge metal, which is also matte black. So because it's a matte color, it doesn't show like imperfections like a typical shiny metal would. My husband and I lived in our house for 12 years. We bought it brand new, but after COVID happened, we got a little bored. So we started redoing everything in the interior of our house. So it's walls, paint, trim, floor, some aesthetics, and we just kind of started acquiring the machines that we needed, or the equipment that we needed to make that happen. And when I say we, I mean he. And then we also started, and I mean he, started making furniture and things out of wood. So we have acquired a lot of equipment, which allowed us to do DIY projects in the future. So it was a nice house to practice on. And then it also helped us sell it for more money. And we also didn't kill each other being in the house that long. So let's talk about the potential of barndominiums. For one, it actually is a true open concept. It's a big box. Mezzanines, lofts, high open ceilings are very popular. So it really gives that like nice big space, kind of like an industrial farmhouse kind of look. There are tons of plans online. You can even buy your own kit where you can say, I want that house. And then they will send you everything for that house and you just have people build it. So it's just kind of neat. And then they also have like pre-made plans that you could just purchase. You can also get changes. So if you want the basic plan, but you want to make a few changes, some will give up to 3 revisions, and you can pay a small fee for that. You also can use it for with an apartment. So lots of people, like say you want a 2-car garage or shop, and then you also want maybe an apartment on top, or maybe an in-law suite or something like that. It's really nice to have that option and have it be you could say man cave or whatever it is you want to make it, but it's just, there's so many options. In our garage, we're going to do a mezzanine in like our second phase, and basically have a gym in there. Sean wants to do a paint booth, and we're going to have just we don't even know yet, but there's a couple things that we'll utilize in there because we have all that extra space. So lofts and storage is great. Tons of storage, because of just using the ceiling rafters to be able to put stuff in. And obviously, like when you are building an additional like external garage is nice, because when they're there and they're doing everything, it's not that much more money to add another building. So we did a carport, a 3,600 square foot house, and then a 2,400 square foot garage. So we contemplating shrinking one or some of those, but for the money, it really wasn't that much cheaper to downgrade anything. So we just stuck with it, and we figured we just figure it out later, which just goes into fitting with your budget. You really, a lot of times, like when you're doing stuff, it makes more sense just to do the things right off the bat. But we did break everything into phases. So phase 1 would just be like getting in the house and doing just the basics, like everything we need. And then when we're doing those things, we want to make sure that we have the end in mind. So we know what things that we want it to look like at the very end. And then we put steps in to be able to plan for that. And one example I have is our stairs. We are trying to figure out our stairs right now. We have the wide open space. We're going to kind of redesign it a little bit, but we know that we wanted floating stairs with a cable rail. And if you don't know what that looks like, it's beautiful, but it's also super expensive, like $15,000-$20,000 for everything. So we're trying to find a way to maybe get by and then eventually get what we want later down the road without wasting a bunch of money. So there are lots of things that we're doing for phase 2. We're going to do like an outside kitchen. We're going to do our mezzanine in our garage. It's just great to know like what you want in the end if you don't want to do everything right away, because like we're not millionaires, like not even close. So we want a house that's going to be like our house forever. So we know eventually we will get there. We're just doing a little at a time. All right, first let's talk about our land strategy. So obviously the first thing to do is to basically figure out where you want to live. We knew we wanted to live on like the outskirts of Ocean City, but we really wanted space. We wanted a large property. So we have 2 young boys, and we wanted to just have a little bit of freedom, a little bit of wiggle room. So we end up finding a property. It's 3.2 acres. And so we bought the land first as we lived in our house. We've lived in our house for 12 years. We're planning on, this is really good in theory, we're planning on buying the land and then selling our house to pay off the land, and then using the land as collateral in order to get the construction loan along with our, debt to income ratio. So borrowing against that. We started planning pretty much right after we bought the land, because it took us a long time to figure out kind of like what the layout would be, work with the architect. That took about 3 or 4 months. And I would have said, out of all the things we started, getting your plans kind of what you want on your end would be like the most beneficial. And to find a really good architect that's going to help you learn what it is that you want, how things are going to look and feel. Because for us, some of the things, as I'm walking into the house now, we are changing a lot of things. And it's because I've never done it before. It's just one of those things you're going to learn. So another option would be to like buy an older house and then build adjacent to that, or maybe like on another side of the property. And that's a nice option because, one, like if you buy it all, then you can just have an additional construction loan. You can also rent the house out afterwards, like the older house, as you move over, or like you can subdivide or whatever it is. You have lots of options there. Another one would be borrow to build. And borrow to build works really well if you have a really like high income and low debt, and you find a bank that will just give you money. But it also depends on how big you want your house to be as well. Our house is 4,400 square feet. We have a 1,000-foot like carport patio area, and then we also have a 2,400 square foot garage. Well, it's mostly a shop, but it's our garage shop. So with what we wanted to build, we wanted something that we wouldn't grow out of. We knew we wouldn't have enough money to borrow. So we knew we had to sell our house. And since the housing pricing was so high, we ended up selling the house for, I would say like not double, but like almost double what we paid for it. And then we just found a rental to jump into. Granted, I thought we were going to be in that rental for 6 months. And here we are almost a year and 6 months later. But it all works out for a reason. The next option would be like to pay as you go. So if you are an existing, even if you live wherever you live right now, if you already have land and you just want to like build somewhere on your current property, you can just pay as you go. Like you can just start saving, start doing things a little bit at a time. That's really nice if you do a lot of like DIY. You can do things at your own pace, and it kind of be like a project that you work on. And I feel like you won't make as many mistakes then because you're not in a rush to do it. But sometimes things like that don't get done. And also, if you take too long, like what we had is there was a regulation change at the end of the year. So our building plans, we got our building plans in December, and it was like it was this past December, it was almost going to expire, and the energy rating had changed. So luckily, all that meant for us is that we had to change like our windows and doors. But It could be another regulation that changes that might actually like impact the existing if you take too long. Like existing, say it's something to do with the trusses or something. So maybe your trusses wouldn't pass, or maybe they won't be grandfathered in if you take too long to do your project. But that's stuff for the county. It's nothing that I want to review here today. The next option would be to sell and then rent, which is what we did. So we sold our house, we paid the property off, and then we found a place to rent. And it's nice, but I mean, we got rid of a lot of stuff, or you have to pay to store it. So I'm grateful that we don't have to pay to store it, because we've been here a year and a half, so that would be a lot of storage. But the house that we are living in now is furnished, which is great in theory because it's less to move. So we've decided like new house, new stuff. So that's what we're going. We sold a lot of the stuff that we had with our old house. So kind of nice. We just being, boxes and clothes and things like that. And there's some things that people do is they sell and live mobile, which means, and works really great for like couples with dogs, or just couples by themselves, or like just one person, because the sell and live mobile option would be to sell your house to like live on your land, either like in a tiny home, an RV, like people do all sorts of stuff, even like in a relative's house, like you live in like an apartment, like above someone's house or whatever. And that's just a nice option. So it depends on what works for you. So if you have any questions about that, just leave them below, because there's lots going on there. All right, let's get down to money. I'm not going to tell you how much ours costs, but I will tell you some different options and like why we chose some of the things that we did. So we decided to spend more money on the things that would save us money long term. And I'll give you some examples. So one example would be like the energy efficiency. Like we even like talked about going solar and try to do like off-grid stuff. And one thing we did decide on is we decided to heat our concrete pad. That is a very expensive add-on, very expensive. It uses like boilers. We have 3 different zones. So we are heating the patio, the garage, and the house. But one thing that does do is concrete is such like it's like a heat conductor, and it's just like the concrete pad being heated can heat your whole house. So especially if we didn't have a second level, it would do a lot better. First level barndominiums, like some people don't even really use their heat unless it's like freezing snow, all that kind of stuff. But typically you can just use the in-floor heating, and that would pretty much be your heat year round. So which is really nice. And the last would be compromising. Like Sean and I always discuss what it is that we want, what's more important to us. Sometimes we will give up one thing to have another, because it's very expensive just to start adding things. And this is one reason why we overestimate. So that way, if things do cost a little bit more, we're not like completely in over our heads and can't finish it. So compromising, figuring out what the long-term gain would be. It's an investment. So trying to make sure that we're not spending too much money that we're going to regret later. And then the usability to make sure that it's going to be useful for our space and our family. Let's just talk about contractors real quick. So contractors, obviously, it's a nice plug and play. They give you all their pricing. They get better deals because of the people they use all the time. It's more of a seamless process, basically. And there are obviously some cons to that. One, it does cost more money. If you do want to use some of your own, maybe if you have like a friend that works or owns a business in a certain industry, or if you want to use people that are personally recommended, sometimes that won't clash well with how a contractor wants to run the project. So you kind of have to find that good balance. For us, we found a contractor that's going to go through the process with us, but we have actually hired all the subs. They're just making sure that everything is, like, inspections go well between the bank and the county, and just to answer any questions we have and to kind of guide us through that process, because this is something that we want to do again. Maybe not for ourselves, but like we think we want to do it again. Another thing, like I know for Worcester County, all we need to move in is a working bathroom and a stove. So once like drywall and paint is, as long as that's covered and we start getting enough to live in, like we want to do all the finishing touches after we move in, because one, it's more convenient. And then two, you're paying like your loan goes from an interest only. We have a year for interest only construction loan, but we want to flip that over to a 30 year as quick as possible. And then also because we're paying rent, we have a $2,000 rent bill at our current house that we're renting, and it's just, why pay more? And then another option would be bartering. My husband loves to buy things and fix them up and sell them. That's one of the reasons why we have so much extra cash. So one of the things he purchased when we first got our property, which by the way, we were paying someone to mow the lawn. So he ended up buying a tractor and fixing it up and using that tractor to mow our lawn for the better part of a year. And then we actually upgraded to a newer, I think it's zero turn mower, I think it's called. And then we actually used that tractor and traded it in for the guy that did our dirt work. So we actually end up getting dirt work before we even started the construction process, which one, made it faster for when we did get our loan, and two, it made it less expensive because our dirt work cost about $20,000. Living on the Eastern Shore, having no crawl space, like it kind of seems like a scary situation. But based on how our property and how it was, we actually raised our construction site about 18 inches, and then they're basically going to grade everything down so we can just channel the water where we want it to go. But yeah, bartering is a great one. Also, I run a marketing company, so a couple of the companies, when they want to use marketing, we kind of figure out like, you know, whatever services they want, and we kind of do like a trade situation. So I'm trading like labor for labor or service for service and that kind of thing. So that gives a great advantage because one, it helps them. If I can help market them, it'll help bring them in more customers, obviously. Or if they can supplement using their labor and I can do the things that I know, we can kind of start like just trading, you know, the things that we're good at. So it's all about community. So when it comes to the actual cost of building a barndominium, it can go anywhere from $62 a square foot up to like $180, $200, $300 a square foot. It really just depends on like the materials you choose, you know, how intricate you want it to be. Because most barndominiums, as you see, are like pretty boxy. They're just it's just boxy, but they have a lot of custom options where you can outfit it more to look like more like a house than a pole barn, which is awesome. But the more you make it look like a house, the more it starts costing like a house. So just keep that in mind. The main frame, there's like two ways to do like the main frame, and that's metal and wood. Metal is expensive, obviously, and wood, there's nothing wrong with wood. I mean, a wood house, I mean, that was what we chose. We didn't feel like that it was worth our money to spend in metal. I'd rather spend it on the things I'm actually going to look at because the wood's going to last long enough, hopefully until I die. So it is what it is. The second thing would be like concrete. Obviously we decided to polish, but you have to figure out like just overall like the square footage for flooring and stuff. Just kind of go over the numbers there. Your insulation, like you do have now it is a lot energy. It's more energy efficient, the insulating, because they do multiple different types, and I might have to do a whole video on insulation because my husband knows more about it than I do. But the insulation is like foam, and there's I think there's barriers insulation under the slab. It's roof, everything. And then accents. So accents and appliances, I'll put those together. So accents and appliances, we are secondhand kings at doing at buying things. So we went from Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. We ended up finding all of our appliances before we even broke ground, and we're just storing them in like a warehouse. So I mean, there are a lot of places, like I know in like Arlington, in New York. I mean, a lot of these like rich people, just they have contractors that'll take out perfectly good sub-zero refrigerators, and rather than spending, I don't know what they cost, like $9,000 a piece, if that, maybe a little more than that. I don't really know what they cost new, but we got two sub-zero refrigerators for I think like $4,000 or $5,000, and they're big, like the 36-inch like Sub-Zero refrigerators. We also got a 60-inch Viking stove, which is like a $25,000 setup with everything that's on it. We got that for a couple $1,000, and it works and it's fine. And then the only thing we have left, a dishwasher. We got a dishwasher, like a really nice, I forget what the Maytag, I think, for like $100. And it's just things that people have sitting in storage. The more you shop around, the more you'll find really great deals that are things are secondhand. And honestly, like if it gets me through the first phase where I'm not putting that money into a loan and borrowing it, I would do it all day long, because even if down the road I have to replace it with something else, I'll be in a different phase of our lives where we'll at least like have ourselves together and we don't have to worry about, you know, that expense on top of. So it's one thing I recommend. Same with accents. I just bought a bunch of like secondhand like decor and all those things. It's just shopping around Facebook Marketplace. It was found some stuff that was like brand new and the people don't really use it, or someone uses it for rentals or whatever it is, and we just got lucky. So but it just takes a little bit of shopping and treasure hunting, and you can thrift store it. I'm sure I'm going to be definitely doing some thrift stores, so you can find some cool stuff in there. So that's a good one. And my final cost saving tips, because as much you can make it be $1 million barndominium if you want to, but who wants to do that? The first thing I would say is shop banks. Our property we actually bought, it's A1 agricultural. And what's nice about that is there are certain banks that do farm loans. So we found a bank called Farm Credit. And basically, like the bank that we got, the loan that we got, actually it's a year construction, interest only. And then after that, it switches to a 30-year fixed. But the really, really cool thing about that is that you can adjust your interest rate for $500 without refinancing. So the interest rate goes down as many times as you want. You pay $500 and you can just whatever. So that was really, really reassuring to us, because interest rates now are like 7.5%, and they've been like that for like almost the last year. So as the rates go down, we know that we won't be stuck in that rate forever. And then whenever we get as low as the rates are going to go, then we can just have that rate indefinitely. So that's really probably our selling point, to be honest with you. And I mean, I would say like borrow as little as you can. So just try to start budgeting as early as you can. We started a money market account. Our money market account gained like 4.5% interest. We had like 20-40 grand in there, just saving. That way, like as we needed, like, we did our septic early. We paid down payments on certain things because we knew we paid our cars off. Like we made sure that we had like as little debt as possible. So that was super helpful when it came to like our final costs. And then the next one would be like planning around your lifestyle. Like we were just starting out with kids. So we knew the kids were gonna, be little. We know that we're trying to figure out like what kind of space we're gonna need, how functional that it's gonna be, and then we overestimated everything. So we borrowed. I'm gonna give you some numbers here. We borrowed like $500,000. So our goal is to come under budget off the $500,000. It just depends on how you estimate, how you any decisions you make throughout the process. Like you'll want to make when you're in it and you're building it and you're making changes, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, that's what I want. But every time you do that, prices like go up and up and up. And that's pretty much all I got. I'm not sure if you can hear Itsy Bitsy Spider in the background, but it's probably the only reason why I'm able to make this video right now is because my kids are watching Miss Rachel. So if I'm sure I missed some things, so if there's anything specific that I didn't cover that you have a question on, feel free to ask me. I've got lots of videos coming, but they just take a while to make. So if you know anyone that's good at making YouTube videos, I have a job for them, because this is not the funnest thing, but I do want to get the information out, and I feel like it'd be really helpful when I was deciding, because I had gone to like Facebook groups, and I've used ChatGPT, and I've like used Google, and I've gone all around, and if we just simplified it a little bit, it probably wouldn't have made me as crazy as it did. So just drop any questions below. If the question is really intricate and it takes a lot of explaining, I will probably just make a video about it, and then I'll tag, the video below your comment, just so you have my answer entirely. And yeah, so I got some, we got some fun little surprises of things that have happened so far, and looking forward to kind of getting those videos together. So keep following, and I'll see you later. Bye.